Brian, when it comes to luxury, how important is it that we take a look at not only domestic markets in the U.S., but global markets as well?
Yeah, that's actually one of the critical questions that is sometimes not really addressed by both the brands as well as by the analysts who cover them. We see right now approximately 75% of all Chinese luxury purchases occurring outside of China. So when you think of how brands are being impacted by the Chinese, by the Brazilians, by Middle Easterners, by Russians, in large part, the domestic market is important, but it's important to look at the mosaic of Europe, of rest of Asia, Japan, South Korea, North America, as well as domestic China. And in that story, the results are mixed for many of these brands, especially Tiffany and Michael Kors.
And I would say the dynamic of the Chinese luxury consumer is also changing, especially in the light of anti-corruption drive. Still, you have some brands doing really, really well in China and some brands that aren't. What's the differential here?
Yeah, very much so. I think there are two types of brands that do well in China. One is temporal and one is more durable. The one that's more durable tends to tie to brands with a really strong provenance, a European luxury house like a Dior or an Hermes or a Chanel, where it's been around for a long time. There's a perception of the brand in Europe as well as now in China, and that brand continues to be bought because of the everlasting value and the brand equity. You also have the Michael Kors of the world that have done extraordinarily well in the last few years, Coach before that. Those brands have a little bit more flash. They're a little bit more logo-driven. They're a little bit more tied to advertising. And ultimately, with this fickle consumer, those brands can cool off very quickly.
Well, you said it. I mean, Chanel doing really well in China. Louis Vuitton as well. They're gaining some traction there. But Gucci, they're just slashing prices in China 50%. They're trying to get rid of, I guess, the last collection under Frida Giannini before Alessandro Michele comes in as its new creative director. But what does this say about Gucci, the brand?
Yeah, I think it says a couple different things. We at Bomoda track through our luxury blueprint, all of the brands that we've been talking about. We track thousands of data points. And what we found with a brand like Gucci is the Chinese consumer buys for three reasons. They buy for authenticity purposes, they buy for product selection and perceived quality, and they buy on price. One of the challenges that brands like Gucci have had in China is the significant markup that they placed on their product domestically. So by lowering prices, they hope, as you pointed it, to flush out the current market and also to diminish the pricing disparity that they see relative to purchasing in Europe or in North America, for instance.
All right, Brian, before I let you go, what are the key challenges for all luxury brands as they look to seek growth?
Well, you mentioned one that's right on point, which is the pricing disparity and the need to think more about pricing equity across markets. The other is really to think about the global Chinese consumer, reaching them in China and making sure the message is consistent from market to market and market, and also understanding that this isn't the gold rush. It's not good enough to open up retail and then to hope and pray that the Chinese consumer comes. It's about building long-standing relationships. It's about building brand equity with the consumer and investing over decades, because you're talking about 1.4 billion people, you're talking about an aspirational middle class, you're talking about now 30 to 35% of the luxury market. It is the big prize for the next 2 decades.